Hey, fellow hitchhikers, the adventure continues, and I want to take some time today to share with you some common questions that are asked about the Solarbots. I'm starting here just with a nice little bit of the reveal as it's happening, and I'll jump back here in a few minutes. So what I've done is I've put together a series of topics, questions that have come up. I listened to both of the interviews that happened with the team with Baronar, Twitter Spaces. There was two different events, one with Brycent and Loot Squad, and another with that was with Cloud White and the Doodles community. And there's a lot. And then I've read through all of the channels in the Discord, the general channel, common questions, the lore channel. I've tried to read at least all of the main channels and looked through and found common questions. So I've put it all together in just a Google Doc here, and I'm going to go through it. I hope it doesn't take too long. You definitely would be able to just listen to this as like a podcast style if you were so interested. And here we go. So almost every interview starts with a little bit of a question about who is the team and who is this behind Solarbots. And two main founders that you'll often be able to connect with and see active in the Discord are Voidling and Mk0 That's Peter and Lucas. And if you go to the website, you will see there they are listed, the founders. We also have a couple artists that are just doing some incredible work. They've revealed a lot of the two-dimensional images, and there's lots more work going on in the background within the artists. We have a great team of developers, and these developers actually have grown even since being updated on this list. From the sales of the Solarbots, we have a lot of more hires that have happened, and mainly senior engineers. So people that have a lot of experience and maybe a little bit more, their salaries a little bit higher at the start, but because they're involved at the start, they have big picture experience and will provide a long-term vision and a scalability. We'll be able to start with scalability instead of a small team that then grows bigger than they expected. Of course, our lore masters, Jess Lauren is very active on Twitter and in the Discord, well appreciated. Composers, some music has just recently come out. It's absolutely phenomenal. So we've got our audio engineering, marketing, and the advisors I'll come back to in just a minute. So just a great team, a solid team with lots of depth, and have already hired significant people to be able to go the next 4 to 6 years, heads down, focused on what they love doing, with the FOA tokens being their reward when the project grows and becomes solid and amazing. So there's an all-star list of advisors, and one of the questions that comes up is why there's such an overlap between Axie Infinity, Kongs, and Solarbots. And part of it is the tokenomics and design and style of Solarbots. There's definitely that Delphi digital influence that you see in that two-token model design and whatnot. And a lot of the advisors are very solid people who have been involved in Axie and involved in Kongs. We've got Baronar, Coco Bear, Owl, AK, SBD, X912. These are solid, reputable people that have a long-term visions, not quick flips, not some sort of pump and dump. So very excited to see these people, and that's why the overlap to those other communities. Their main priority is developing a good game. And developing a good game that's scalable and large takes time. It isn't a matter of just copying something that's out there, throwing it on a chain. It doesn't really scale very well. Everything pumps up, and then you can run away and jump over to the next project. This is their roadmap is 10 years. So it's a 10-year project, and it doesn't end there. Then it moves into more of a DAO environment and a treasury that's been built up. And so it's a multi-generational thing. Okay. What are some of your main gaming influences and philosophies in building the game? World of Warcraft, and you see some of that coming through with some later on goals with the multiplayer, so I'm excited about that. Final Fantasy 14, the look and feel of Final Fantasy 7, EVE Online, I think especially some of the economy stuff from the EVE Online, Animal Crossing with some of the play mechanics and crafting. Dungeons and Dragons, you'll see that within some of the storyline, the lore, the random generation due to dice roll, Path of Exile, Legend of Zelda, and Near Automata. I don't know that one. There's definitely a strong connection with anime and different art styles as well. And then I've also seen an honorable mention to Metabots as a style influence. So I love that we're living in a day and age where gaming experience and gaming knowledge is actually a critical skill. So many things are going to game theory. Being part of and knowing historical things that have worked and haven't worked in previous games and game environments makes this team also very strong. So within the community, there's a role called Recruit and Explorer in the Discord, and it gets asked often. Explorers are the first 1,000 members. Nothing more than that. They were the first 1,000 members. It doesn't mean anything. It just means they were early and they were great, and that's awesome. I'm glad they get that recognition. Question, why are so many Axie and Kongs people in Solarbots? I mentioned that already. Just look at the list of advisors and look at the type of economy that's being formed. Lots of overlap. Now, there was an announcement about the CyberKongs Solarbots and some sort of overlap. And are the CyberKong Solarbots combat units upgrades to existing Solarbots, the parts and the skins, or are they a separate mint? And the answer is no, they're not mintable, and they'll be craftable in a later stage in the game. And I also even heard a comment about there maybe even being multiple planes of existence. Solarbots in our storyline is existing in the plane of Eld, and perhaps we have a CyberKong's plane of existence. So maybe we'll have some SDK that starts to form, and you can have things overlap. There also may be within the Solarbots realm or whatever the banana economy as well. There may be some overlap. So excited for partner projects, especially as this metaverse grows. You have the sandbox, and you have these kind of things where you can have lots of different projects all existing in one sort of grand metaverse. I need to watch Ready Player One again, I think. You'll also find within the community a member, someone who's contributing within the Discord. My name is Ruin, number 3682. And Ruin is kind of like, so who is Ruin? Well, Ruin is a lot of things, and often will post leaks that get deleted. Misa will have to delete it, or Jess will have to delete it. Yeah, Ruin doesn't have a physical form, that misses their lover, seems to be kind of like a record keeper, releases letters. I'll jump over to the Discord and kind of show you a dialogue here. So if you jump into the Discord, you'll see, you can search for My Name is Ruin, and you can find some different dialogues that have happened. And he says, aren't we all beasts in human ahem bodies? And I'm sorry, but I'm really getting emotional about this lack of blood stuff. I've been living through an entire lifetimes and entire cycles. But what is living if you can't feel your own heartbeat? And you can interact with Ruin every now and then. Ask questions sometimes. Sometimes Ruin gets offended and takes off. Sometimes Ruin will release information. People predict he's kind of like a lore master. And My Name is Ruin will just say, well, letters are what I have for now. So it's kind of like the records. It, he, she, it. Ruin looks for physical form, feels very lonely, misses their lover. And then, Jess will come on. Jess Lauren, one of the main lore masters, the writers, will say, Miso has alerted me to this topic of Ruin's lover. I won't delete it, even if it contains spoilers. That's something really personal. It's like, oh, leaks. Anyway, so things do end up getting released and then get deleted. So you have to be active in the Discord if you want to catch some of these leaks as well. Neat to have that overlap between the storyverse and the in real life interaction that we have. I think they call it meatverse. Our real life is the meatverse, where we actually live and breathe. But there's an overlap, and that overlap is going to continue on throughout the entire project as we have the ability to spend souls on, maybe tabletop figurines or accessories, or even in things that happen in the gameplay as players. We might actually influence the outcome of the story as it unfolds. So right now we're in the early days, and likewise the lore and the stories in the early days. And as the story unfolds, so will our experiences. So there's a neat interaction between the virtual and the reality that we live in. So there are caretakers that preserve memories, and I'm wondering if Ruin is one of these caretakers that was mentioned in one of the interviews. Will the leaks always be on Wednesday, or is it just random? And Wednesday is leak day, so it's always a good day to hop on the Discord later on a Wednesday or a Thursday if your schedule doesn't fit and if you like to just catch up on what's happening. That's when we have a lot of the different reveals and bits of information. Question: what is the target demographic of Solarbots? Is it for all ages, all cultures, gamers? Is there a target demographic? And the answer for that is there's a lot of philosophical themes that may strike a chord with more mature audiences. So this is, and I would agree with that. Just some of the content is definitely more for adults. Not that it's like adult rated, but that is going to be a bit more of a target demographic. Now, there's always could be spin-offs and whatnot. But that's great. Another category out leaving community, the blockchain/technology behind what's going on. A lot of people ask, is there any chance the Solarbots will be on the Ronin as the Axie Infinity chain? And it's most likely, as they've explained, that it's going to be on their own chain. They do have someone that they've already hired that has the capabilities to lead a team and to build a chain that Solarbots will run on. And we have multiple examples of gaming projects that try to run on existing platforms like Polygon or Mutable X or whatnot, and then something goes awry and demands all of that chain's attention, and they have to deal with that, and your project may be left, or another project may influence. I mean, just look at what's happening on with Sunflower on Polygon. It's totally jamming it up. So there seems to be a greater and greater desire to do proof of authority, centralized chains to run these games on that are then compatible with the Ethereum network. I think it's called EVM. Anyways, so you can bridge easily between the Ethereum or the Ethereum compliant or something like that. I don't know the deeper technicalities. And would it kind of make sense? I mean, ultimately we're going to get to a point where there's just a metaverse, and there'll be some things that are fully decentralized, some things that aren't, some things that are purely just game dependent. It does start to lead into the question of, well then, what's the difference just between having existing games just have open economies and we don't need any of the blockchain? There is an element of the public nature of the blockchain that people underestimate. You can see everything that's going on. You can verify yourself how many of whatever object, or you can verify rarity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the blockchain technology does offer things beyond just this idea of true digital ownership. Because I've already seen that with Axie Infinity. When they pause the contract on Ethereum, you have all these digital assets, but you can't do anything with them. So being even on Ethereum doesn't mean that you have this sort of independent ownership of things that you can do. There's still people that own the contract, and that's for security reasons. So anyways, going on a bit of a tangent there. Question: what is the font that we're using for the Elds texts? And the font name is Locrian Empire, and you can download it at solarbots.io/locrianempire.ttf, and I'll put that link down in the description. So you can download the font if you want. One thing to point out, sometimes people will say I'm translating. These aren't translations, they're transliterations. You're just replacing each of our, English alphabet symbol with a symbol from the Locrian Empire. So it's still the same English word. When you copy text that's been written in the Locrian font, then paste it into a Word document, or if you look at the source code, you will just see the English letters for it, because it's just letters that have been replaced. It's a font as opposed to a translation of words that we wouldn't otherwise understand. One thing to note is that the marketplace for Solarbots is already being worked on. They hope to have it ready shortly after the MVP, the minimum viable product, which we're hoping for end of March. So sometime in April and May, we might actually see an in-game marketplace that's coming. So excited about that. Okay, let's go into Solarbots. So all Solarbots have arms, legs, a head, shoulders, and a base. So they have these various attributes that can either be upgraded in terms of art or can hold different objects. So it works out to about 6-7 different things. and some questions about Solarbots, or some more information here. They all have sockets in the body parts that can hold gems. Souls, that'll be the sort of in-game token, are used to create sockets, so you can spend it, you can roll, and create them, and can be of different cuts. The different cut of the socket and the necessary gem that will fill that is your abilities that might give you buffs or handle debuffs as they get put on you, or give debuffs to other opponents. Gems come in different colors, and we've already seen that within the lore. We have these three main gems that each of the factions are using, and these gems can be cut such that they'll fit into the sockets. That'll also cost souls. You can re-roll the stats of your Solarbots by spending money, probably a proof of skill, some sort of mini game of some sort, and by spending souls. Solarbots come in 4 rarities: common, rare, epic, and void. They all have the same potential for top stats. So the ceiling stats is the same on all of them, so you can upgrade all of them. However, the more rare, the higher the base stats. So if you have an epic and you have a common, an epic will have higher base stats, but you can upgrade that common to be equal to the epic. So there's no real playing advantage. It's purely cosmetic, and there may be some other cosmetic advantages to owning a void. Voids are incredibly expensive. I was really sad that I didn't roll one. I really, really wanted to get one, of course, same as everyone else. But if you own a void, you may have some advantages or opportunities, I guess, in special cosmetics available for your Solarbots. I should mention the probabilities of the each of these when they were minted. So they came out at 0.2 ETH in order to mint a team of 4 Solarbots. So you'll often hear people say the floor is 0.05 ETH for a Solarbot. It's kind of true, but not technically, because you did have a chance, a 62% chance of a common, a 25% chance of a rare, a 12.5% chance of an epic, and a 0.25% chance of a void. So when you paid that 0.05, you did have a chance of getting some of the higher rarities, which would mean that the floor price of a common is technically lower than 0.05. But for simplicity, 0.05 was the floor for each of the Solarbots. But if you were one who were minting, you paid 0.2 because you got 4 Solarbots. Okay, we have Mark 1 Solarbots. They are prototypes for keeping the Abyss at bay. We're experiencing this horrible thing within the lore. Everyone that's outside of the cities has been eliminated, and the factions have to put all the differences aside and battle. And these Solarbots are formed. This is like a prototype. They're not really upgradable. There may be some cosmetics that could be upgraded later on, and there may be some branching so that you can, depending on whatever it allows you to go down the different branching, you may be able to change some of the art styles. But essentially, they are what they are. In the future, there will be Mark II Solarbots. There is a possibility that these might come out sooner than later if there's enough demand to try and play the game and not enough market in order to provide the Solarbots for those people to be able to play. And originally there was going to be a bit of a sale that goes with the Mark II Solarbots, but the team is indicating at this point that they might not do it through a sale since they already have enough funds for what they're trying to do, and there may be some sort of community. Anyways, we'll see what happens there. The Mark II don't generate FOA tokens, so the governance tokens, which I'll talk about later on, are distributed, airdropped, I guess, to people that own early assets. So Mark II won't generate any of these FOA tokens for the drop. However, they will have much more ability to change the cosmetics on them. And that's where the Void holders may be able to do some things with their Mark II cosmetics that other people can't. One thing that comes up is the size. A lot of people want to know about the different stats that you have. So when you look at these Solarbots, there can be baby ones, there can be female ones, there can be male, and they have different factions, they have different size. The vast majority of the differences are purely cosmetic. Now, there may be some overlap, some influence down the road, but as it is right now, there's no, other than buying one of everything or two of everything, there's no real advantage of a baby over a large male solar bot or even rarity. So we have the two sizes, large and baby. We have the three types. We have male, female, neutral, and then we have kind of four factions. We have Locrian, we have Arborea, we have Ilskagard, and then the neutral. And the neutrals are kind of actually made up of two factions themselves. Anyways, well, there's more to be found out about who these neutrals are. Is it possible to mint an Mk0? So we're going to have these Mk0 solar bots, and they are not mintable. There'll be around 12 a year. I don't know if that means one a month or if there'll be some sort of special event, but they will be distributed through auctions. I can only imagine what the price they're going to go through. Prizes, so rewards for community participation of some sort, and possibly promotions. So I don't know if that'll be like a partnership promotion. Maybe you'd have an Mk0 Kong's solar bot or something like that, which would be unbelievable. Question, will Mk0 have higher in-game abilities than Mark 1 or subsequent iterations? Nope. All the solar bots are just a solar bot. It'll depend on proof of skill and the way you play. There is no pay to win in that way. When is the actual reveal? So reveal is being staggered. So we've had artwork slowly being revealed. It's great. So sort of January, maybe into February, but basically January, most of the art reveals, the 2D to static art reveals. And then into February, we may start to see some of the land sales and maybe some of the guild activity, guild sales. Gets us into March. That's when the MVP, minimum viable product, is coming out. We'll be able to do some non-token generation play. So it's nice. It just little things that just keep going along, keep us going along, see that activity's happening, keep us engaged. I love it. So staggered reveals spread out over time. The SolarBot Mark 1 collection will be minted with initially hidden artwork, which we've already seen, and then you won't be able to view your SolarBots. The unlock happens in a step-by-step fashion over the coming months, starting with the tanks, and then melee, then ranged, and then support art will be revealed. They'll all be static 2D art with some animations and shading and those kind of things coming in the future. Question, are Heartbot SolarBots Mk0? Nope, the Heartbot is just a neutral tank, and they're from Mark 1. It is worth noting that the neutral bots are made up of two sub-factions. They're kind of like protectors of Eld, and they're very secluded from the three main factions. We haven't received any lore yet. We've had the lore of the three main factions, so I wonder if the next lore leak will be on the neutral bots, or whatever they are. Question, will Mark II be created by players, or will there be another sale? Mark II won't be crafted, but as Miso said, they don't know if they will necessarily at all. Originally, the plan was to release them in a sale for team funding, but currently it looks like that won't be needed. So we could see Mark II as non-playable characters, perhaps. Just throwing ideas around here. I have no clue. The main thing is the team isn't really interested in making sales just for the sake of earning money. Bonus leak. The pilots of the SolarBots also have an identity. I kind of saw myself as possibly a pilot, but I can't really be in all of the SolarBots at the same time. I could be running them all remotely. There may be, though, an NFT pilot, and it's possible that Void owners might get early access to these pilot NFTs that run these SolarBots. So more layers going on there. And it's also possible in the far-off future, SolarBots themselves may gain some consciousness. Future SolarBots like Mark III, they might be animals, they might be giants. By Mark IV, they're probably going to be completely customizable SolarBots. Okay, let's go into land and guilds. Question, will guilds have their own guild treasury apart from the central treasury of the game? Probably. Because if you're running a guild and you have some that are collecting different resources and some that are using those resources to craft different items and others that are using those items to manage a storefront, and you want to be able to delegate all of these things to the different people, you'll probably need some sort of guild treasury. Especially if it's built into the in-game design, that would just really help everyone. So great to hear that that might be the case. Especially with myself, with my scholarship, I really look forward to, over the years forming a relationship with all these people and getting them playing and being able to utilize in-game resources for working together as a team. Question: when land? The land sale details will be announced closer to the land mint event. Note that the ETH estimates that go with the land can totally change. It really is going to depend on the USD value of the ETH at that time. So I've already seen their estimates kind of jump around as ETH jumps around. So we won't have that. My gut is that we're looking at like a February kind of situation for some land mint and sales, but I could be totally wrong. Maybe they want to do it after the MVP. So some information about the land and the guilds. So we have in city, in the main capitals, we're going to have guild halls. Guild halls receive an FOA drop, just like the Mark 1 Solarbots. Guild halls will have a commercial storefront, like a marketplace. So if you're wanting to buy assets, there will be two ways to buy it. You'll be able to buy it out of the marketplace, like OpenSea or something like that. And then you'll be able to buy it in-game. And the cost of things in-game will be cheaper than out-of-game, and a portion of the commission of sales, in-game sales, will go to these guild halls. And the guild halls themselves will be able to choose specialized major crafting, like blacksmithing and whatnot. If things change, maybe in early game, major crafting, like if you choose wrong, in quotation marks, you're not stuck with the one major crafting. You'll be able to buy the tools and whatnot and make the tools to be able to do other crafting. The guild halls also pay rent. So they pay a monthly fee in souls for sure, and possibly FOA. And they have the ability to add floors to their guild hall, so you can expand your guild hall. So even if you start with a small guild hall, you could scale it up to be the same as a medium or even a large over time. Again, lots of thought in not having this pay-to-win advantage. It's going to be very important, though, that the people who are behind the different guild halls are actually committed to the project, not people just trying to I'm going to buy this and then flip it and sell it. There is a role for flippers. They create a certain element of hype. They do, sometimes overdump and give other people a chance to get into a project later on. So they can play a role, but ultimately we want people that are actually believing in the project, that are owning the assets. So the large guild hall won't just be like a first come, first serve. There may be some sort of whitelisting, interview, commitment kind of process, because they effectively are the gatekeepers of what's happening with inside of Solarbots. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be running the storefronts. They're going to be the ones that are creating items, and probably looking at anywhere from 44 to 67 ETH. The small will be, I've seen anywhere from 6 to 10 ETH, and the medium anywhere from 13 to 20 ETH. So, 66 ETH to buy a large guild, that is a commitment. And my goal, I'm going to desperately try to get a small guild. I was able through the mint process to get a lot more solar bots than I had originally thought that I was going to be able to. Maybe I'll sell some solar bots to be able to get a small guild. I don't know. I have to weigh that out, see if that's the right decision, or maybe look at some of the other projects that I'm involved with and balance things out. Go through the crypto couch cushions, as they say. But I definitely would like to, with my scholarship, get a small guild. But again, it's because I'm going to commit to the time to be part of the economy, to be making items, to be helping the game grow and be part of it. Not because I think, I'm going to be able to sell this for more. That doesn't make any sense. But there will be a commercial benefit in that I get a percentage of the sales of the things that happen through it. Okay. I already mentioned that the small and medium guilds can become larger by adding floors and spending souls per month to maintain it. So that's in the city as guilds, but not everyone's going to want to do that. Player housing will also be in the city, and this is for everyone. This is for some basic crafting, not the big commercialized projects. Definitely a place to socialize. There'll be some small customizations that you'll be able to put, some of your own furniture and whatnot in there. There'll be some chat capacity, so you get together with some people, and maybe there's I don't know what kind of chat, if it's just a text chat or whatnot, but somewhat private. There'll be some token generation, maybe some herbs or some bamboo that you can grow, and so on. So there will definitely be a land element. 0.1 ETH, I think, is kind of what I've seen. Again, depends on the value of ETH at the time and everything else that they're modeling out. There'll be an ability to maybe have some small-scale role play within these player housing. They're going to be inside the capital cities, and they will generate some FOA tokens as well. So, for sure, if you're interested in this game, at least get one player house. Then there'll also be outside of the capital land as well. And that'll be a future release. It won't be at the very beginning. And it will offer a bit more of an SDK, software developer kit experience that can be made by players. So maybe you make some sort of custom dungeon, or maybe you have an arena of some sort and you capture wild beasts from the abyss and you put them in this arena, and you hold an event where people can have challenges to battle these beasts and share in the loot that's dropped from doing this. So there will be neat things for developers and creative people outside of the capital, sort of out in this wilderness, to have land and to do neat things. And there'll also be unique resources that can be collected out of the capital. What I like within all of this is this focus on, I want to use the word scholarship. A lot of people, that's more of an Axie Infinity thing, but a scholarship model where you can sponsor and enable and support people that wouldn't otherwise be able to buy some of these assets but still would like to participate. You can provide your assets to be available to them, and it'll be built into the game mechanics, or the game structure, infrastructure. So there'll be ways to rent or lend different assets. Any questions about the game itself? Do we have a rough timeline when the game will go live? Yep, pre-alpha, the minimum viable product, will probably launch around end of Q1 2022, so end of March. It won't be token yielding, token emitting, and it will play a vital part of the in-game storyline. So there'll be lore, it'll be an important piece of the storyline. But the game itself won't emit tokens, but it'll be a nice test of what we've got and where the vision is. It will release on computers first, but they do have a dedicated expert and people working on mobile versions of the game, and they want it to be able to be playable both in portrait and landscape play. I'd never really thought about that, but that seems to be something that they do have a focus on. So great to see that there is a mobile component, because I think if we include mobile in this gameplay, then we can scale as large as the world. Question, can a team exist out of different factions, or do I need to have a full team from just one faction? You can mix any faction in one team. Right now, we're all working together against this common enemy. And personally, I'm actually trying to design the teams to be one from each faction, all four. So I think there's going to be a certain synergy and abilities that one faction is going to be better at, that another faction is going to be better at, and you're going to have this balance that comes from mixed faction. Or not. Maybe, you just have all melee, all one faction, and it's just like, we're going in. Well, I don't know. So the gameplay itself will start with storyline and player versus environment. That'll be the main focus, and it'll be a solo. So it'll just be you playing against the environment. It'll be combo heavy. It'll be hard for bots to master the game. And bots, irony, solar bots, but in the real life realm, we don't want the economy to be distorted or have problems, and they have lots of things within the design of the economy to fight this. But anyways, the game itself, the gameplay will be combo heavy, so you'll have to be thinking this character is going to do that character is going to do this, and sort of combine things together in order to play. And it'll be against creatures of the abyss. Eventually, the gameplay will be multiplayer in the environment, and there'll be raids and dungeons. So still a PvE, but multiplayer. That sounds really cool. I'm excited about that. Question, so people can choose their role in the game? Answer, if you're a team of 4, you play what we call a quarter hand. You supply 1 solar bot each. If you play in a team of 2, play a half hand, each person providing 2 bots, and try to make sure that you have a proper balance. It's undecided yet, but there probably will be a public matchmaking as well as friend invites. So, if you don't have someone that that plays this, but you just want to be able to join in, there may be a public way of just assigning people. Turn and play mechanics won't be based just on stats. It's not just like, oh, I've got the fastest character, I go first. Rather, there will be other elements. For example, some random roll of a 20-sided die, for example, might indicate turn order and sequence. So it won't just be, as long as I level this character up to this stat, suddenly I always have this advantage. There will be other elements that determine that. In the future, there's definitely going to be a player versus player ladder of some sort, some esports competition. What I really like about this project as well is it isn't just for one type of game player. There really is things for everyone. There'll be, you can just focus on crafting, exploring, gathering, just wandering around in the factions, out of the factions, battling creatures, and just crafting, exploring, and collecting. One thing to know, a lot of these will be based on little mini games, so like in-game mini games in order to collect, to craft. And if you have a higher score performance, you'll get a higher yield. This also will make it hard for bots because it'll be complicated to get that higher score performance, whereas a bot will just sort of do the same thing, and so they'll get a much lower yield. And they're playing with this idea that they've coined called proof of skill, like mining in order to create these assets, but it'll be based on skill. And the monthly yield of these various resources will also change depending on the economy. So you don't have this runaway inflation. You'll have a set amount that's distributed over the month, and based on your score, your higher score performances, you're going to get a higher cut of that. There's also a spot for creators. So there's going to be an API for people to be able to make things like maybe furniture. Maybe you make this awesome disco ball for inside of your player housing. And or you want to do some cosmetics of some sort. You have ways to make things look differently. And then what will happen is right early on, there will be a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. And those are the FOA token holders. And those people will be able to vote on things that will be accepted and added to the marketplace. So you don't want this scenario where just anyone can create anything and you just get this marketplace filled with junk and it's really hard to find anything. But there is actually a bit of a process to say, yeah, I'm submitting this disco ball, and the community votes and says, yeah, we want to have that available in the marketplace. That creator will get rewarded for having their items selected. This is kind of like Lego. You know how Lego, you can have, you submit an idea, and then if it gets selected, you get an award, and then they actually make it. So the creators will get rewarded, and they also get a portion of all future commissions. So if you are a creator, this is an avenue for you to be participating in, similar to Sandbox, I suppose. There's also arena owners. So far off future, you'll be able to host tournaments, PvP tournaments, possibly a wagering element. There could also be PvE battles against creatures of the abyss, as I mentioned earlier, where people sharing the loot. So everything from esports managers to creators to people who want to craft and yield. Like, there's just stuff for everyone within this game. I'm going to take a moment just to answer a few questions about the reserve mint whitelist question. Even though this has already happened, it is still happening as well. And so you get these questions that pop up about how is someone's minting? I thought that the whitelist was already done and there was no more minting. So I'm just going to answer a few basic questions. It won't take very long. First off, this was the best mint experience that I have ever participated in. In fact, in a way, it's the only one I've ever participated in, because every other event I wasn't able to do anything. I would just get pushed out by the whales. It was brilliant, and it was really well done, and it's just such a great way to start and a sign of the depth and strength of this team. So what happened is you could reserve instead of minting on that mint day. So it opened up to the public, and there was a whitelist process beforehand, but if you weren't able to be on the whitelist, open up to the public. And it lasted 26 minutes, 24 to 26 minutes. So there was time for everyone. I actually ended up doing multiple. So you reserved. So I clicked, I wanted 10, and I hit reserve, and I submitted the transaction. And then I waited, it went through. I'm like, wow, I'll try this again. 10, submit, and I went through. So I ended up being able to do 3 reserves of 10, which, and it takes time for these things to be processed. So by limiting how many were able to be reserved at once, that helped distribute it out. By having a reserve mechanism instead of a minting mechanism, that meant we didn't end up in this massive gas war that was really, really expensive that only the whales could afford. It ended up being much, much cheaper. So you reserve the ability for your wallet to mint later on when gas is really low. Now, some people still haven't minted. Their wallet has a reserve, so it has the ability to mint, but they haven't minted. The only real advantage to mint right away was that you get a lower serial number assigned to your Solarbot. That's about it. Otherwise, there's no advantage. So that kept gas down, that distributed so that everyone could participate. And then what happened after is there was all the flippers, all the people that were just trying to get voids or epics or something like that, started dumping all of the commons. And the price went down below 0.05. I picked up a couple at like 0.03. And there was at least a day, if not a day and a half, where the Solarbots were well below 0.05. They jumped around. Okay, maybe they weren't fully below 0.05. They were like 0.06, 0.07, 0.03. They were jumping all over. But it went on for about a day and a half. So anyone that was part of the project at the beginning that wanted to be able to get into Solarbots was able to. I love that. It did sell out fairly quick, but like I said, the flippers created that downward pressure. One thing that came up is how to set MetaMask. And a little bit of an analogy I think that will help people understand is the gas limit is how much the gas is needed in order to do the transaction. It's usually the contract that'll tell MetaMask basically how much gas is needed. You never adjust the gas limit. You're going on a road trip, you need a certain amount of gas. You can't put less gas in the tank and still make it to your destination. So you don't adjust the gas limit. The priority fee is the tip that you give the miner. If you give a little bit of a higher tip, like a 2 or 3, then you might get moved to the front of the line over someone else. It's like tipping the maitre d' or someone that's sitting you at a table. So it doesn't need to be huge. Somewhere between 1 to 5 is more than enough. I kept most of mine around 2. The max fee is the price of gas that you will pay. So, whatever the price of gas is, I'm willing to pay $2. I'm willing to pay $3. That's where your big cost is, and that's the thing that you can increase, is how much you're willing to pay for gas. So that's the number that you can change upwards if you're really wanting to be, have your transaction go through first. So the analogy is if you go on a road trip, putting less gas in your tank won't save you any money. You'll run out of gas. However, if there's lineups at the gas station and you pay to be at the front of the line and then you are willing to pay for a lot more per liter, the gas station will give you your gas and you'll be on your way quicker than anyone else. Hey, tokenomics and play and earn. So a few questions here. What does this mean? The 1-year lockup period will coincide with crafting going live for all items listed. So holding a Solarbot for the first year will accumulate a governance token FOA. Same thing will happen with the land and the guilds and whatnot. Holding these things will allocate FOA. Let me jump over to my... So if I go down to the mint section on the Solarbots website, you can see I've accumulated 15,283 FOA tokens for my Solarbots. I think I have 126 of them. Like I say, 126. Way more than I realized. Way more than I anticipated being able to get. So this number keeps going up. I'm getting around, if you hold it for the whole year, 2,500 FOA per Solarbot, or 6.8. I'm getting around 6.8 FOA per Solarbot per day, around 2,500 total. Anyway, so this is when the 1 year ends, 1 year from mint date, or really they say when crafting comes live. So it might be a little bit more than a year, but we'll get to this point where crafting, the game is going live. This FOA will be available and dropped to my wallet. It'll probably be on a different chain at that point, so there won't really be a gas that's associated with that. I have all this FOA that's available. From that point on, the Solarbots will continue to receive this daily FOA for the following 9 years afterwards. And I'll be able to claim it at any point. So the 1-year lockup is just from now until crafting comes live. Then all of this FOA will be distributed and be available. There is 10 billion FOA that will eventually be distributed over the 10 years. Why 10 billion? That's a pretty high number for a governance token and whatnot. The team explained that the FOA will be used as a fee as well as the souls, and they wanted it to be a nice number. And because it's going to go up in value, you want it to be like 1 FOA, something like that, or 2 FOAs. But at the same time, you want to be able to absorb it going up in value, I guess is what I should say. You don't want to have it to be like 0.0037 FOA. That was their thinking. I don't know. that was the explanation that was given. What will FOA be worth? Who knows? You're not going to find any price predictions of that people are willing to stand behind. I will say this though: 10 cents would be a reasonable number in terms of other projects that you compare. Probably less at the beginning, but maybe that would be an end game. If it's $10, I mean that's life changing. So do some research, compare it to other projects, but it's way too early to sort of say what it's going to be worth. What happens to FOA that's spent in the economy? So the FOA that's spent in the economy is not burned. The souls, I believe, are burned. Yeah, they're sinks. But the FOA will be put into a treasury, and it will be saved and accumulated for things like tournament rewards, or after the 10 years, maybe the DAO will vote to decide that Mark 1 holders will still continue to receive FOA from the treasury, something like that. Who knows? There'll be a DAO at that point. The souls, that's the other token, the monthly allocated generated token, will experience so the bots will experience degradation in certain parts. For example, the gems don't last forever. There will be field repair kits and things like that require souls in order to be repaired. So that'll be a sink for souls that'll get spent on. Also, souls will go into the Grand Mangus. That's a portal into the Solarbot Soulstone. And inside of there, in order to cleanse, you have to fight these monsters that are causing corruption. And if you succeed, then the Solarbot's able to level up. If you don't succeed, then you'll have to spend those souls again. So leveling up isn't just a pay to level up. You actually have to demonstrate a certain amount of skill and spend souls to do that. There'll also be soul sinks that cross over to real life, like think of like a crowdsourced fundraising. Enough souls are spent or distributed into some sort of thing. It gets burned, and then you get a fan-based novel that you can buy, or an anime will be, the next season of the anime will be filmed or made, or figurines for tabletops, or some sort of 3D virtual environments that you can purchase. So souls may be the token crossover into the real world. We'll see. Okay, last section, lore. So there's plenty of interplay between the real life world and Storyverse. Players will discover the story over time and possibly even impact elements of the story. Things will be released and revealed in conjunction with the storyline. So when the MVP comes out, it'll make sense within the lore and the storyline. Is it safe? There's some controversy about this. Is it safe to say people from Eld or Eldians? You can call them that, kind of like Earthlings, but at the same time, that wouldn't really make sense. I don't say hello, fellow Earthling. So there's some discussion around whether or not people from Eld or Eldians. Question: is there a direction around the community lore development from the team? Answer: there is an avenue we are currently planning which would also make use of the governance token. Until then, however, we haven't planned directly on community integration into lore, since there's already a lot of the lore written and set. So they've already planned this whole thing out, this whole storyline. That being said, they never ignore activities and discussions, so they may incorporate some things. And there's a couple things here I just want to share that's kind of more of a conversation that happened within the Discord. And it says, Princess Yanni isn't bald after all. Just like the Lunar Ruby, her hair grows fast. Her mother tried to protect her, and in the way she did, all it took was, well, doing the exact opposite of what she said while still loving her and understanding her mentality in a way. In a way, her hair now is almost a dare. Try and grab a hold of this and watch what happens. Reading in the lore channel and being part of that, you get depth and information on what's happening and who these characters are. So I recommend just taking some time and scrolling through some of those other conversations. Question for the lore masters, are we calling them shade now? And this is something that I kind of skimmed over when I read the excerpts from the stories. Don't have even currently a full handle on who the enemy is, what the enemy is. But here's an answer. Laurel can't tell whether or not to call an abyssal entity or just a horrifying shade cast on the town. But he'd never call known abyssal entities shades, because I'm not going to thieve directly from Yoko Taro. It is clear when the abyss shows up, things get weird and nobody can explain it right. Prominence was hinted at but never confirmed. I'm a little bit lost. I needed a little bit more reading, but I love it. Who is Laurel talking to in the Ilskagord Laurel writing? And I initially thought it was Ruin, but for some reason I forgot Ruin doesn't have a body. Question. Laurel said in what I presume is a figure of speech manner that the screams of Ellie can scare the shades faithless. Well, he's using two forms of the word shade. One is ghosts and one is literally the shade. I can't wait. I'm going to try and wring some stuff out of Ruin next time. So I'm just reading some discussion here from the lore channel, and it's anyways, if you enjoy this kind of thing, I do. I try to get in there. I'm trying to figure it all out as much as I can. Laurel's going to have to, question here, Laurel's going to have to weigh priorities like he's never done before. I'm not even an Ilskagordian, but I can say that his journey is one to watch. And yeah, that was that. I quite enjoyed the Ilskagordian story. And answer, like me, Jess Lauren, and Ruin both remind everyone the faction leaders. They all love each other. They're like family. So these factions, even though they all have this history of division and they have their own identities, they are still a team, especially as they fight the Abyss. So anyways, I hope that answered some questions. Definitely let me know if I got anything wrong or if I missed something, or if you have a question, and ask it down below or ask it in the Discord, and I'll do some digging. Okay. As always, keep track of your towels and don't panic.